It's time to move into the fast lane now with track and field on the SportsMax Zone. There were several engaging storylines on the first weekend of the United States Olympic trials at the Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon. On Friday night, there was a world record in the men's shot put. Reigning Olympic champion Crouser producing a throw of 23.37 meters to erase the 23.12 set by fellow American Randy Barnes. Michael Norman in the 400 meters and Trayvon Bromell in the 100 meters were among the favorites to book their tickets to Tokyo, as was the 21-year-old Sha'Carri Richardson, who after a wind-assisted 10.64 in her semi-final returned to register 10.86 to beat all challengers in the 100-meter final. This is what she said after her win. This year has been crazy for me. I'm still here. Last week finding out my biological mother passed away and still choosing to pursue my dreams, still coming out here, still making the family that I do have on this earth proud. Now, another athlete who shared the limelight was a 35-year-old Allyson Felix. Felix was attempting to make her 5th Olympic team, and she succeeded by producing a tremendous stretch run to finish second in the 400 meters behind fellow mother Canary Hayes. Hayes winning in 49.78 to Felix's 50.02. Here's what Felix said about her effort. Man, it has been a fight to get here, and one thing I know how to do is fight, and I just did that all the way home. Society tells us a lot of times that if you have a child, then your best moments are behind you, but that's absolutely not the case. I am representation of that. Now, Leighton Levy, senior writer with SportsMax.tv and our track and field expert, joins us now to look at the first weekend of the US Olympic trials, as we said. Leighton, let's start with Allyson Felix. 70 meters out, she looked beaten. She appeared to be in about 5th or 6th spot, but finished up very strongly and snatched her spot.
I told my wife, who was watching the race with me, exactly what she was going to do, and that's exactly what she did. Allyson Felix is 35 years old, and she's not as fast as some of the other women in that race. So what she did, she took that race out hard and forced them to come at her. And then when they came at her, she was actually resting, I use that word loosely, on the 300. So if you remember, she went from first to about 5th or 6th, as you mentioned, but then she had the most energy coming home other than Conera Haynes. And she walked that field down gradually with her experience. As you know, Allyson Felix has been one of the best closers in the 400 meters in history. And she used her wiles and her wit and her experience and actually got into that second position in 50.02, a huge season best for her.
Yeah, she's also entered Leighton for the 200 meters coming up this weekend. I suspect she, was trying to see which one she would get into to make a decision, because based on the schedule this year, it's going to be pretty difficult to double with 2 and 4.
It could be, and I think part of the reason why she probably tried the 4 is because she recognized that the 4 this year for the U.S. women is particularly weak. You look at the, Conera Haynes, even though the 49.78, and of course, Waddell Jonathas. You're looking at the field, it was not an outstanding field like in previous years where a lot of these women came into the champions running 49 lows. They were running 50 points all season. So she knew she had a window there, and if she ran smart, she could get in. Of course, the 200 is going to be a little bit tougher, but her speed at 35 is still good enough to get her in the top 3 of the 200. But I think the 400 entry was more of an insurance, because when you look at who is coming in the 200 meters, there's going to be a lot of quality in that event as well. So, I guess ensure that there's a spot to Tokyo, in her pocket before the 200.
Yeah, a couple of months ago, Sha'Carri Richardson had looked, massive going to Tokyo with some unbelievable times. Things not exactly the same now with Shelly Ann Fraser-Price with her 10.6 clocking and so on. But your thoughts on her 10.86 over the weekend, Sha'Carri Richardson?
Impressed as usual. I was more impressed with her semi-final run, even though it was winded at 2.6. But that she shut it down 30 meters from the tape, pointing on the clock, and still running 10.64 with a 2.6 wind. The thing is that, my grandmother used to say, the higher the monkey climbs, the more they're exposed. I think we're beginning to see some cracks or some weaknesses in Sha'Carri Richardson's race now. I mean, I haven't changed my opinion from April, because a lot of people thought we were saying that she was definitely going to win. We said she could win, given what we've seen from her this season. But when you look at her start all throughout the season so far has been ordinary. It was particularly ordinary in that final where she had to literally chase down a Javian Oliver to catch her at 20 meters from the tape. Still winning in an impressive time because when you take into consideration the win, that's probably at 10:77 or thereabouts. The fact is, however, that when she goes into a Tokyo with a likes of a Dina Asher-Smith, the great starter like Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price and Elaine Thompson, and even a Blessing Okabari, who was rather windy at 10:62, 10:63 at the Nigerian trials last week. She can't afford to be left behind against these women. So if she does not fix that, she's going to be in problems. She could be in serious problems, even to medal in Tokyo if she doesn't fix that start, because that's a distinct disadvantage in a field of women who are more experienced, who are not likely to be unnerved by the occasion, and of course, be ready to run fast, because we've seen a lot of women are running fast this year. Elaine Thompson 10:78. We've seen a lot of 10:7s and some 10:6s from Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price. She is not going to be able to run down a 10:6, 10:7 athlete in similar circumstances in Tokyo if she gets a start as bad as the one she got in Oregon last night. Night before, sorry. So, she's got to fix that. So whether or not Dennis Mitchell can train that into her over the next month is going to be the big question going into Tokyo, because if she does not, she could find herself on the outside looking in.
Leighton, it's not sexy, and this goes against the script of what we're talking about, but I have to talk about the men's shot put world record and point out to you that the old mark was set 31 years ago. May 20, 1919, Los Angeles, USA by Randy Barnes. And apart from the first time the mark was registered in 1909, and then that record being broken in 1928, so that was a 19-year gap. There's been nothing similar in terms of the length of time between world records in the shot put. So what is Ryan Crouser up to? How did he put it all together to break one of the oldest records on the athletics books?
Listen, Ryan Crouser has been threatening that record for about 2 years now. And I think he finally got it right. Ryan Crouser, by the way, for those who don't know, is 6'8", okay? He has long levers and he's incredibly powerful. And him breaking that record was just a matter of time. When you saw how many throws he had, for example, last year and the year before that at the World Championships, where he was literally averaging 22.5 every single throw, it was just a matter of time before he got it right. And a lot of people are happy that this record is broken after 31 years, because if you remember, Randy Barnes broke this record in May 1990. 2 months later, he was banned. Not 2 months, May, June, July, August. 3 months later, he was banned for 2 years for taking methyl testosterone. And then 2 years later, he was banned for life. So that was a record that many people had question marks over, and was, there are many people were glad to see it off the books finally, because it was shrouded in so much controversy.
Yeah, but Leighton, sorry, you know the part that really felt good for me was that he said the moment it left his hand, he felt it was good, but he said it wasn't even his best throw. He wasn't really so much enamored by the throw, but he knew it was good. But yeah, when a man can say that and shatter a 31-year-old record, it means he has more in the locker, Leighton.
Obviously, when you look at Ryan Crouser, as I mentioned, he's 6'8". So when he gets those legs behind, and of course the arm length, the levers, and the length of the levers behind, as you know, George, if you're taking the tire off a car, the longer the iron is, it's easier to turn.
Yes.
It's a similar principle with the shot put. So when he gets those levers and popping from that 6'8" frame, it's not inconceivable to believe that he could actually break that record again this year at the Olympics or in sometime in the near future, because he's in his prime right now, and he looks like he's mastering the technique to the point where he's at that level of consistency where 22s are his lows as opposed to being his highs. And of course, now that he's broken into the 23 threshold, that it could become the norm for him.
The clock is our enemy now, Leighton, so let's press this on. So people look at the three that have made the US 100-meter team, the men, and say Kerley, Bromell, and Baker, and say, oh, so gold, silver, and bronze in Tokyo. Is that what it's shaping up to be?
There might be some people who are able to split that, but it's going to be hard, because Fred Kerley, from a 400-meter runner, seems to be learning very fast over that 100 meters. 9.86, that is third PB this season. And of course, Tribon Bromell, obviously, the heavy favorite. He's unbeaten this season. I don't see anybody beating him. And of course, Ronnie Baker, his first Olympic Games, He's running fast. He's always been fast. So I think the US have a good shot at 1, 2, 3. But I think, given the circumstances of what we've seen this year, Trevor Bromell looks like the only certainty for a gold medal here. The other two Americans are susceptible to the likes of a Simbini or a few South Africans who are coming through. And maybe a couple of British sprinters as well, like Azarnel Hughes, if he chooses to run the 100 meters. There are people there who can split them up. But if they do 1, 2, 3, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, always great talking to you, Leighton, on the SportsMax Zone.
But hold on, lads. I have to do it. I know the time is up. will a Caribbean man have a lane in the Olympic 100 meters final if everybody runs up to par?
It's difficult.
Just say no, Leighton. Just say no.
No, George. I can't say no, but it's not as simple as that.
I know.
I think we'll have to wait until what we see this weekend in the national championship before we can actually make that determination.
All right, Leighton. Of course, the 39-year-old Justin Gatlin had leg trouble last night and finished last in the 100-meter final, so there'll be no Gatlin in Tokyo.
New era.
Okay.
New era, lads.
Okay.
The end of the Gatlin era was perfect for almost 8 years.
Yes.
And now it's the Trevor Bromell era.
Okay, talk to you soon, Leighton.
Take it easy, guys.
Okay, of course, the opening ceremony for the rescheduled Tokyo Olympic Games set for the 23rd of July. It's a Friday, and the closing ceremony will be on the 8th of August. You can join your home of champions for build up to the games, Tokyo Prime, The Journey, starting Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock Eastern Caribbean time, 6 o'clock in Jamaica, all on SportsMax.